Hello, I'm Bill Wursler, and this is MagicalLivingNow.com. Well, we're going to be talking about a dream, or dreams in general, and a specific dream. We'll be listening to me tell a personal dream that I had years ago, and as I explain how it affected me, possibly you can learn something from that and think about some of your dreams. And also, this is a very special kind of dream that I'll explain in just a moment. Okay, let's get started. Years ago, and I don't know, we're talking possibly 10, 15 years ago, I had a dream. I don't remember writing it down, but I do remember very important parts of the dream because of how powerful it was. Now, I work as a nurse in the ICU. That's my real-time job, official work. And now and then we'll have to resuscitate somebody. We call it CPR, code blue. And the reason I mention that is because in my dream I was dreaming about work. So this is where the overlap happens, and you'll see in just a moment why that's important. Now, years later, the actual place where I worked has altered. I work on a different unit, and the dream, when I had it, I always wondered whether it would be sort of a precognitive dream, one that was about the future. However, now at this point, because everything's changed in timeline and everything, I don't think that that's going to happen. In fact, that's what I realized today, and that's sort of why I'm even telling you this. So some of that will make more sense too now. So here we go. In the dream that I had years ago, I was at work at a very specific room, very specific bed. I know the room number. I've worked there many years. And I was standing at the end of the bed back watching what was going on. And basically there was like 3-4 people around a patient in the bed, and they were doing CPR. And the respiratory therapist said, "Come on, help." And I said, "Well, I don't have to." And of course, that was odd, because usually when you're dreaming, you get sucked in, and of course you're going to be involved with that. But I had a special knowledge of what was going on. And so what I did, I said, "Come with me," and I took the respiratory therapist away. And that's a little bit odd, because respiratory therapist, actually ventilates the patient, bagging the patient before they got, you do that before you put them back on the ventilator if you bring them back. And I took the respiratory therapist out outside the room, and I said, "Now watch this." And I took my arms and I went like this, and I made fists, see? And then I turned, okay? And there was a wall right here, okay, like where this mirror is. And I took my fists and I slowly pushed them into the wall. And it wasn't like they made holes in the wall. It just merged right into the wall, And I said, "See, this is a dream." And I pulled my fists out and I said, "Watch this." And I was standing, and I held my hands, palms out and arms this far apart. And the respiratory therapist was like a little back behind where you are and was watching. And as I did this, I created this glowing sphere of blue light, transparent. That's actually one of the reasons I think why I like blue, or maybe that's why I like blue and then I dream these things. But it's a special sort of vibrant, healing type of color for me. And it was about 12 inches in diameter, and I'm creating this mentally, willing it into existence, and it's floating. And I said, see, this is a dream, you know. I mean, I am saying that, of course, because, you know, realities, I mean, when we're awake, you can't put your arms, merge them into the wall, or you aren't able to create spheres of glowing light like that. The thing is, I don't really remember what happened after that, but the point of all of this is, that is what is called a lucid dream. That a lucid dream means that I was lucid. That means that I was aware that I was dreaming while the dream was going on. These happen now and then. We actually all have little clues throughout our dreams that we are dreaming, and sometimes we latch onto them and realize we're dreaming. And then you, for sometimes a few moments or even a few minutes, you can be aware that you are asleep, that you're dreaming, and yet you know you're dreaming. So that gives you a lot of opportunities when that happens to do very special things, like what I just told you. I didn't have to get sucked into doing CPR on this patient and do all that drama. I stopped and controlled the dream, and in fact wanted to teach somebody else in the dream that it was a dream. Now, I don't know a lot of the details as far as in actuality, was I dreaming together and there was somebody else I was teaching, or was the respiratory therapist that I was showing, was that a hallucination, and in a way I was doing this and showing myself that I was dreaming? I'm not sure. I'm still in the learning phase throughout a lot of this, and at the time I didn't check. There are ways that you can check some of those things. However, tonight we're focusing on lucid dreaming. We're focusing on, have you had a lucid dream? We're focusing on, do you know what some of the clues are that you are dreaming? Do you know how to stay in your dream once you realize, oh, I'm dreaming? I'll give you an example. It's very common when the dream cycle is over and you're waking up that you might have a sensation of falling, okay? And in actuality, that's a symbolic representation that your consciousness is returning to your body. And the reason I point to my head is because this is what we've been taught. It really doesn't even have to. I mean, your consciousness not only can be anywhere in your body, your consciousness doesn't even have to stay encased in your skull. But we've been hypnotized to believe that throughout our entire lives. That's another separate video that we can talk about. But my point is, yes, when your consciousness returns to your body, you get the sensation of falling. A lot of times you'll just wake up then. Sometimes you'll realize in your dream you actually are falling. And when you feel that, sometimes you want to wake up before you hit the ground, okay? Sometimes you'll realize that you're flying at that moment. And that's so. Yes, I was explaining, so that say you do stay in your dream for a moment after you experience the sensation of falling or flying, okay? I was simply mentioning, yes, the symbols in your dream, they can alter or merge or change, because this is a dream. This is an experience that from the inside out is symbolically representing, again, something even deeper for you to understand and learn from. Yes, sometimes you'll either be falling, you have the sensation of falling, or you might be flying. All of this is related to when your consciousness is returning to your body, when you're waking up. Maybe the alarm went off and you're waking up, and just at that moment, as your consciousness returns to the body, you feel like you're falling or you feel like you're flying. Of course, if your alarm is going off, then you have to punch it. You may have enough time to lay there and recall what your dream was. That's something that's very helpful. Just lay completely still, don't move. Review what was in your mind the very last minute. and then get up and write it down. However, this is what you can do. If you have that waking up feeling and it's not from the alarm, but you either are flying should give you a quick clue, oh hey, I'm dreaming, okay? If you're falling, okay, hey wait, no, I'm dreaming, okay? This is where practice comes in. This is where agreement with yourself ahead of time. This is where thinking ahead of time. This is where learning about dreams while you're awake, just spending time thinking about them. Say you spend 5 minutes before you fall asleep thinking about dreams, then that gives you essentially 5 minutes in your dream time where you have an ability to think about what goes on while you're awake. It's sort of an exchange in that sense. So one of the things I do is I talk about dreams, I emphasize them, I learn about them, I think about them, write about them, that kind of stuff, because then that helps me when I'm dreaming sometimes remember that I'm dreaming. How often do I have a lucid dream? Depending on the degree of lucidity, it's rare that I have 100% lucidity when I'm dreaming. And you'll know when you do, because they're just overwhelming, awesome dreams when they occur. You realize I'm asleep and I'm dreaming. And at that moment, because it's a dream, you can do what would be considered fantastic, miraculous things, okay? If you want to immediately travel to another country, you can go that fast. What motivates you is your desire. Whatever you desire manifests. And even when you're lucid, so it happens anyway when you're dreaming, but if you're lucid and you say, I want to visit whatever country it is, you think about it, you feel that, boom, you're there. Now, then when you're there, you have to stay a little bit detached in order to retain that lucidity. Because with dreams, there's this tendency to get drawn right back into them and sort of almost an obsession with what you're seeing in front of you, and then you sort of forget, oh, I'm dreaming. And as soon as you forget that you're dreaming, then you fall back into the dream, and it sort of is what we would call more of our regular dreaming. This lucid dreaming is when you're still dreaming, but you know you're dreaming. For example, when that occurs, one of the things I like to do is like test it out. Like I had spoke earlier, put my arms apart and create a blue sphere of light. Put my hand through an object. If you're falling and you know that you're dreaming, which of course you're going to be if you're falling, stay with it. Overcome your fear. Allow yourself to, what you would quote, think would be hit the ground. 3 things can happen. 1, you can hit the ground, okay? I've done it before on purpose. Nothing really happens. There's not pain. Your body may even lay there, and you get a second body as you get up, and you forget about that body and you go on. And in that case, I'm still lucid, even though I'd just gone through that. Sometimes right before I get to the bottom, I just slowly float and land, okay? Other times, you can go right into the earth and tunnel in through and come back up. Sometimes you go underwater while that's occurring. You can breathe underwater. You can breathe in under the earth. All of these things, I know they sound strange, but in a dream, that's how it works. So when you're lucid, it's funny, I'm going to say this, the sky's the limit. It's even bigger than that. You can travel to various dimensions. You can travel to various parts of this universe, but you can actually travel to other universes or other dimensions. You can become as small as a molecule or an atom. You can merge with 1, 2, 3 other people simultaneously. You can split apart. You can have no body. You don't have to have a body. All you have is consciousness. There's so many things you can do, and if you do those while you're lucid, it's so memorable. It's just an ecstatic feeling. I recommend it because it lasts with you after you wake up. It's very healthy. All right, it fills you with vitality. You tend to overcome some of the basic fears of life. You tend to get a pretty good idea that you're going to live beyond death. Okay. See, consciousness is not dependent on the body form. You learn that quickly in the dreaming world, particularly if you can become lucid. You realize that in the dream world, you change body forms. You can be different sexes, different races. You don't have to have a body at all. You can be light. You can be invisible. I could go on and on. Anything you can imagine, you can do in the dreaming world. So that helps you understand possibly, yes, your consciousness will survive death. And then it also gives you this sort of added bonus that, wait a minute, there's way more to me than I ever realized. And that's true. We have a vast amount of, shall we say, an inner world that we're connected to, that we can draw upon in terms of skills, abilities, intuitions. If you want in your, you don't even have to be asleep to do this one, but you can pre-imagine certain events and get an idea of how they will play out in your life, if that's what you want to choose that path or not. It's very amazing in the dream world, though. I mean, you're totally immersed into it when you experience it. You can stretch out times, speed it up. I could just go on, but the point of tonight's discussion is lucid dreaming. It exists. It's possible for you to train yourself and become lucid in your dreams. And one of the easiest ways is when you get that sensation of falling or flying to say, oh yes, this means I'm dreaming. There's a lot of other ways you can do it. For me, it's hard to read when I'm dreaming. If I can read something, if I can read the words, when I go back a second time to read it, they've altered. That's a clue to me that I'm dreaming. You can make up whatever you need to in order to signal yourself, oh, that means I'm dreaming. I could go on and on about that. You need to do this on your own research. The more you put into this, the more are your results. This is an exploration in consciousness that is for you. All of us are different. However, our unique stories that we're going to bring back as we explore within our minds are helpful in order to lead a more fulfilling life, not only for ourselves, but everyone around us. For example, what I'm doing now, I could sit here and literally talk probably for 100 hours about my dreams and how it's affected my life. Very, very many of my major decisions in life have been influenced heavily by what I would call my inner self, intuitions. And then other ones that aren't, a lot of times I'll sit down and I'll imagine, and sort of daydream. What will it be like if I choose this? Or what will it be like if I choose that? And it gives me a greater understanding of life, of each moment, of myself, of my fellow man, of my relationships, and I highly recommend it. So, one more time, lucid dreaming. It's possible. Go for it. You'll really be glad you did. All right, until next time, this is magicallivingnow.com. Goodbye, and have a great time.